Can these exes rekindle their love? Find out in the 8 Heartbreaks of Hanukkah. From international best-selling and Emmy Award-winning author JEAN MELTZER.
It's Hanukkah, round and around, honey cake.
Hi, this is PatZi with a Z. Welcome to Joy on Paper Live, a program for writers and those who dream of writing, and for everyone who wants to know the story behind the book. And I have a very special guest today, JEAN MELTZER. Wow, and a wonderful, fantastic book. Hi, so nice to see you.
So nice to be here. I am absolutely thrilled to meet you and to talk about all things Jewish joy and writing.
I had to have you on the program. You use the word joy, and this is joy on paper. And so it's just so exciting to be able to talk to you. You have a lot of things going on in your life, and we're going to be talking about it. But let's first talk about the 8 Heartbreaks of Hanukkah, your latest book. And I want everyone to know that you are an international best-selling, Emmy Award-winning author. And
what a
Jewish
great
humor
intro.
and stories.
Yes, and what a beautiful and great intro. Yes, I am an international best-selling author of Jewish romance. I'm also a National Daytime Emmy winner. I won back in my TV production days for Outstanding Children's Series. I was nominated a few more times, once in the, I think it was Approaches in New Media category, but only won once.
This book, and I will say it's just so exciting when I started it, because it is something that I know very much about, and that is doing a production of the wonderful story that has just, I love it. Every Jewish person I know loves it and reads it all the time, and that's A Christmas Carol, because it sets the mood. I don't care. I don't know any Jewish person who doesn't love The Christmas Carol.
Exactly. So I decided to do a Hanukkah retelling of A Christmas Carol, a story and book that I grew up with my entire life, not just because it is such a classic holiday winter tale, but because my mother, who is a psychologist, very on brand for a Jewish mother to be a psychologist, used A Christmas Carol throughout her career with her clients to talk about not just changing the past, but seeing your own experiences through another person's lens. And so that's inspiration, that growing up with that story and my mom's sort of message really became the basis of my book, The 8 Heartbreaks of Hanukkah.
I'll let you explain the story. It's fascinating. And as I said, now, I have been involved in the production of The Christmas Carol as a stage play many times over the years, and I love it. And there is nothing more fun than behind the scenes. And in this case, your character is behind the scenes, in charge of the scenes, overwhelmed by the scenes, everything that could happen. Doing a stage play it's nerve-wracking, and usually you'll have a week of the show, so over the 5 or 6 days that you're running it, you will have problems and changes. But when you're doing a live television, explain to people what it means and why this is so much fun. This opening, she is in charge of a live. When people don't understand live television, where there are people, lots of people involved, and there's music involved, and there's stage props involved. Tell us about your character, because she's got her hands full.
Yes, she does. Evelyn Schwartz is the protagonist in my story, the heroine. She is a television executive producer, very much a workaholic, and she is working the week of Hanukkah producing the live action musical of A Christmas Carol. This is a big holiday event. Her career, her life is riding on it. She wants more than anything for it to be successful because it will lead to other projects, maybe a live action film. And lo and behold, what happens? Because the rule of production is everything that will go wrong. The first day, as they're moving in the instruments, she gets bopped in the head with a piano. Oh no, she has to be taken off to the medical bay where who is there, as if this couldn't get worse? Dr. David Adler, her ex-husband, who she has not seen in 2 years since he walked out on her. She is furious and she wants him to go. But of course, he's now the doctor on call on set. So the question is, over 8 nights, as she's visited by ghosts or heartbreaks or hallucinations, will these two exes find a way back to each other? Might just take a Hanukkah miracle.
It is a wonderful premise and a wonderful idea. And having lived your life behind the scenes on television, you bring a reality to it that is very, whoo, it takes sometimes it takes my breath away to just, people don't understand the logistics involved in a live production. It's
Yes. So I was an executive producer myself at the height of my television career. I was probably doing about 250 hours of television a year. I had a daily show. To do that requires incredibly long hours. It requires an ability to manage 10,000 different things happening at once. And so all that I put into this book, that background, as well as a little few secrets, the back tunnels of the studios in New York City that you traverse between the studios and the offices. That is all real in this book. And also from probably years of production experience, making sure the stage crew and the cameras are right and that people are dressed right and that nobody is wandering off in the middle of rehearsals. This is very much real life, including even sometimes stars who are acting a little bit problematic.
oh, and it's not just the stars. When you have 36, I noticed 36 actors, a double high, like
Yep.
a
Yes.
double high of actors. You have 36 of them with, and they all think they're stars. I'm sorry you have a star, but all, and having been myself, I will say that I was only on stage once for one show, and that was for Fiddler on the Roof. They let me.
I love
director
Fiddler.
was, some strange reason, was desperate to get me on stage. And everybody has a personality. And I'm sorry, when I was on stage, I felt like I was the star.
Yeah,
I
love
I felt
that.
like everybody's looking at me, and it was so much fun. And so
Yeah,
actors, you have to do that. You have to have that personality.
sure.
But dealing with actors, now that's another thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the beauty. I remember someone saying it to me once, that the actors are kind of like children, right? You need to make them feel good and give them the attention they want and see them, and in return they give us beautiful art, and I am a big fan of beautiful art. So I'm happy to let everybody feel like a star.
Yeah, exactly. They need that. Otherwise, you're not going to get out on stage unless you're pretty sure that you are like the greatest thing.
Yeah, because it's scary. It takes a lot of chutzpah, right?
Oh,
To be,
chutzpah. That's it.
yeah.
And I just, so the premise of the entire book is just fun for me. And all the inside and backstory is fascinating. And then, and we have now the Jewish element. So explain to me why it's so important for you to bring into your books this life of what it means for people who are living a part Jewish life, a full Jewish life, all of the sort of nuances that are in with your characters here that you've developed too.
Yeah, so it's a really simple answer to why I write Jewish romance. The first is that I am a Jewish girl. That is my worldview. I grew up in a strong Jewish family. I went to Hebrew school. I was bat mitzvahed. I studied. I actually went to rabbinical school for 5 years. So I love Judaism and I love sharing my culture with other people. The other side of the answer to that is that growing up, I didn't have a lot of positive representations of Jewish life. I'm about to turn 46, and the bulk of my stories growing up were Holocaust stories. Nothing wrong with that, but it's not. We as a Jewish people are more than our trauma. When I became an adult and I wanted to give my nieces a different type of story, I wanted to create stories where Jewish people got happy endings and where Jewish women never bemoaned the size of their nose and where our Jewish men were attractive and sexy. And I wanted to take this genre I love so much, romance, with its happy endings, and showcase that Jewish people and chronically ill people, who I also write about, are all deserving of happy endings and great love stories.
And of course, when you have a character who has a shoulders definition, that is a great line. Tell us about that line. How did that pop into your head?
It's so funny because once I write a book, I don't really go back and look at it. It makes me way too anxious. But when you're in the zone, I've been told I'm very funny. I like to joke. I did not know I was funny until I wrote The Matzo Ball and I was publishing a rom-com. And then I was like, I guess I am funny. But where does it come to me? I can just see these characters in my head and I can just look for quirky ways to describe him. And also there's so much fun in romance in describing forms and bodies, whether that's the body of the love interest or the body of the rock star who kind of walks through the world groin first. It's very fun to be able to write comedy in books. It's such a gift. I love it.
I had never seen, or it was so refreshing to describe a guy as having shoulders, the definition of dictionary. Because first I love broad shoulders and I love dictionaries. And now for the rest of my life, every time they show a really hunky guy with broad shoulders, I'm going to say, oh, yeah. I thought that was so good.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of fun ways to play with. And I do that a lot. I think it's very Jewish to play with language and double entendres and meanings.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's very what does this word mean? How can it mean something different? So obviously from my background in rabbinical school, I always want to give a little homage underneath what I like to call the drosh layer to 36 characters, like you said, double 18, double high. Little, not Easter eggs, but afikomen's you can find in the book.
Exactly. The minute I saw the 36, I said, okay, I know where she's coming from. I know where
I'm always trying to do things like that. So
I'm doing that kind of stuff too. I will give a gift of 36 cookies, not 24.
I love just you have to.
I couldn't. I couldn't give just 24. If I'm going to give, I'm going to give 36. I just have to.
Yeah. You have to make sure. It's it's funny because in our company, Jewish Joy, I have a Sephardi creative director. She's Syrian Sephardi, and numbers are very important to them. But every number has a different meaning. So we are not allowed to do anything in multitudes of 4 because 4 is a bad number. So I never even thought about that, but we never do things in 4s. So 18s are good.
What I love is all of the little, you will explain little things that people who aren't Jewish or don't have Jewish friends might not know about, but you do it in such a sweet way, whether it's a tikkun olam. Tikkun olam is just something that we think about. So explain that's something that you mentioned.
Tikkun olam is basically changing the world for better. For Jews, We believe that the universe, the world, was not created finished, that God actually left it for us to finish the work ourselves. And the way we do that is by doing mitzvot, or good deeds. And if you are a spiritual Jewish person, then you believe that your good deeds, like good words, literally change the world for the better, and bad deeds change the world for the worse. I believe in tikkun olam, and that is making the world better. And I do believe that we all have a responsibility to make things just a little better for the people around us and for the next generation too.
It is. I love the way that this is incorporated in the storyline, and you tell
Yes.
people about it, because there are so many. We won't go into what misunderstanding about Judaism are, but
Yeah.
this tikkun olam mitzvot. That is the essence of Judaism.
For me, for sure, and for many Jews, what I'm going to misquote it, but what is it? Study, learn, and do good deeds. The rest is just Torah, right? The idea of doing good deeds, that is the mission of every Jew. So I love that about our culture, and that idea that you always have to be striving for more. In fact, the word menschlichkeit, right? It comes from the idea that you are standing on earth and reaching towards heaven. It literally means man, but it's that idea that you are striving to be better, right? And we do that through good deeds. What I love about our culture and our tradition is that there's so much beauty and wisdom in it. And I really love that I can share that culture and wisdom through my books, and that so many people, not just Jews, of even other faiths, have found resonance and meaning by learning about Judaism through my books. It's really such a beautiful thing. In fact, even as recently as a few months ago, I got an email from a non-Jewish woman who was going to be using quotes from my books as part of her wedding vows. And I, of course, sent her all my books with the quotes written out as a wedding gift, and just incredibly honored. And I like to say that Jewish joy is for everybody, because it's such a beautiful tradition and we have such a beautiful culture. And again, I love being able to share it with people through the act of storytelling.
You mentioned again Jewish joy. Now, this is you have a. I want to get back to the book for a minute, and then we'll talk about that. So let's talk about some of the characters in the book.
Yes,
because you have a lot of interesting ones.
For sure. We have Evelyn, the workaholic TV producer. We have, of course, Dr. David Adler, her ex-husband. We have Jared Sparks, who is the naughty rock star actor that's the entire production is riding on. And then, of course, we have the 8 Heartbreaks themselves, a series of ghosts who appear to Evelyn throughout the course of the book, one for every night, right? And are imparting some sort of lesson about her past, or making her revisit her past. So there's a lot of beauty in this book, a lot about relationships and relationship identity. And on top of that, it's just a really fun rom-com that has also some heart and meaning underneath.
It is fun, and the romance is great, the comedy is great. You have a natural instinct for it, because it's not easy to write funny. Most people can't do it. So you do that very well. I think, which is why Matzo Ball. When was Matzo Ball? Was that released?
Believe it or not, Matzo Ball was only published 4 years ago. So I have done 5 books in 4 years, all very successful, thank God. And I really have, thankfully, that success has opened up the way for other Jewish romance authors. So we're getting more Jewish stories, thank God, that focus on celebrating and uplifting Jewish life and identity.
Matzo Ball was an overnight. I love when you have these overnight bestsellers.
Yeah.
I love when people can say, yes, how did they do? Well, overnight bestseller. That was exciting.
What's so interesting about it, and I know this is a writing kind of podcast, so there's an old saying that every overnight bestseller is 10 years in the making. And at least in my case, that was absolutely true. It wasn't like I wrote this book and went off and it took me many years of writing many different stories for me to land on the story I was meant to tell, and for me to be at the level of craft that was craft, and also I would say maturity, to be able to handle being a Jewish romance author on a one book a year publishing schedule. So it was all things in God's timing. It was not an overnight success for me. I like to say it took me 40 years of both rabbinic background and writing background to pen the matzo ball. It was not overnight at all. It was 40 years of studying and training and books that went nowhere and stories that went nowhere and life lessons and journeys for me to be able to become the JEAN Meltzer of the matzo ball. And I think that's a common story you hear. I think very few people like pound out a book and send it to an agent and get a book deal the next day. I think the norm for anyone listening is that it really takes a long time, and it takes a little bit of luck too.
And that is a wonderful book. And of course, matzo ball for me. We had matzo ball soup every Friday for that I can remember.
It's still like my favorite to make. I love a good chicken soup on the bone. My bubby taught me the right way to make it, with the bone in the broth and the water. I was actually shocked because I grew up in a kosher home, and when I became a young woman, I realized you could buy soup in cans. And boxes. I was so shocked by this. I was like, I had no idea. I thought everybody has to put it in the pot and make soup this way.
Well,
So
in fact, I did it on Sunday. I took a big pot and a
that's out.
wonderful organic chicken and
Yep.
made a gigantic, really, I have this large pot just
Yeah, I
for
do too.
cooking chicken. And it's
That's
so
what I
good.
do too. Yeah. And that's it. It's really easy too. You just put it up in the morning and you let it simmer and throw in, I love onions and everything. So throw in onions, some celery, some carrots, and dill, and let that chicken cook. I also love a good organic chicken. So yes, I think you and I probably would make chicken soup very similarly.
I'm sure. And we're having some cold weather here in Austin. We had, I think it went down to 24 degrees, which is cold for Austin.
Yeah, that is freezing. Oh my goodness.
So it's nice to have. It's always nice to have. And everybody, once you read the 8 heartaches of heartbreaks, the 8 heartbreaks of Hanukkah, you have to go back and get matzo ball because it's a great read. This is so much fun. It's a beshert kind of thing coming at this time of the year. I want people to just think about, if they read this book, if they read other books that tell something about Jewish life and understand what's happening, it's good. It's good if they do that. And having romance. Now, one of the things in this book, I noticed on the Audible version and in the front of the book too, where there's like a warning. And so do you want to discuss this, why in this particular book you have a reader sort of warning, which they never used to do in the old days? Boy, when you think of some of the authors, the classics, they had warnings on those books. But your warning is done for a specific reason. So explain why you have a warning.
It is true. I have never put a warning on any of my books before, even though all my books deal with sort of serious topics underneath the fluff and the fun. But this book specifically deals with something that happened to my baby sister, who, after 3 years of IVF treatments, finally got pregnant with a baby boy. We were also thrilled because I literally found out the night she was pregnant, on the same night my father died. And in Jewish tradition, what that meant was that when this baby boy would be born, he would be able to carry my father's name. So it was like a beacon of hope, this baby, for the whole family. We got together again in July. Her belly was showing. I put my ear to it, my little baby boy. I'm a proud auntie. And then everything was going normally. She had the morning sickness, which my mom always said was a sign of a healthy baby, and thank God. But then she went in for her 20-week scan, and she received a devastating diagnosis that the baby was not developing normally, and that essentially she had two options. The first option was to terminate the child in order to make sure that the baby did not die inside of her and risk her own health. Or if the baby somehow miraculously did survive, it would most likely be born with horrible, painful disability and would only live a few minutes or a few days, but it would spend that time in horrible pain. So my sister made the incredibly difficult decision, again, after 3 years of IVF, to terminate for medical reasons her child. And this experience for her was so traumatic, especially because laws had changed in the country, making it that people would have to ask her, like, was this baby wanted? And she would be hysterical. It was very traumatic for her, so much so that despite being a very private person, she completely changed her entire life. She's a psychologist as well, and actually is now one of only 3 women in the country who do counseling for women and families who've experienced terminations for medical reasons, or TFMRs. And so 2 years after this experience, because I have always written about things that are not seen and to make them visible, whether that's chronic illness or disability or mental health issues, I decided I was going to tackle how this experience affects a couple in a romance. And so I decided to put a trigger warning at the front of this book, having understood how traumatic this was for my sister and how triggering it could be for women who have just lost a child or are still in that process of being very sensitive or even dealing with infertility. I just wanted to make sure that people coming to a romance thinking it would just be fluffy and sweet would understand that this dealt with some difficult topics, and that even though my book always promises a happy ending, that it was totally okay if they weren't in a good place to put it to the side for a later date.
Yeah, I think perhaps that was a good idea. I had been thinking about it, but first of all, the cover is lovely. It is
Thank
a
you.
cheerful cover. It is a happy cover. You can feel that you're going to have some really wonderful romance and love. And then people who aren't prepared get sometimes angry when something happens that they didn't expect. So it's a
Yeah.
good idea. I think it was a good idea, the right choice.
My brand or my books are always kind of like this. They're always I write romantic comedies, emphasis on the comedy. They're always very fun on the surface, but I like to joke I'm like an old Hasidic parable. It's entertaining on the top, but there's always depth in there. There's always something bigger that I'm trying to discuss or trying to work through myself. So if you know my brand, that's what I do. But again, the cover can be for someone who's not familiar with it, who's just picking it up for a light holiday romance, I just felt I needed to give them a little heads up this time.
Yeah, because people do judge a book by its cover. And
Yep.
as I said, this cover it's going to have a nice romance. It's a lovely story. But as you said, there is this underlying very serious, and some people can't handle it. Some people aren't ready to handle it. And so it was a good idea. I think it was a good idea.
Thank
But
you.
believe me, there's so much fun stuff in this book.
And it's a book that's a roller coaster. I love it gives you a lot of feels. And I love a book that like takes me on an emotional journey. What's beautiful about this book is I think so many people have said they cried in it, but they're also like, it's their favorite book of mine because it is such a roller coaster. You feel for these characters, you fall in love with these characters, you're rooting for these characters. And that's why we write romance. We all know it ends with a happy ending, and in that way it's predictable. But for romance readers, it's about the journey to get there. And the journey on this one is fabulous. People do not want to miss it.
Yeah, no, I think it's really fabulous. As I said, the characters and also just the fact that we're backstage on a television set, and it's just people enjoy hearing about that and reading about that. And
For
you,
sure.
of course, award winning. Wow, that's pretty exciting. But you also have your own medical issue which has come up. And do you want to talk about that? Is this
Sure. Yeah, no, I am always happy to be a voice for the chronically ill and disabled. So I have been sick since I was 18, 19 years old with a disease called myalgic encephalomyelitis, chronic fatigue syndrome. For most of since that point in my life, I've basically been on a part-time schedule. I consider myself homebound. I am able to travel now, but at the worst point in my disease, I spent about 2 years, what we call like bedbound, homebound, which meant I wasn't really able to do the highlight of my life for those 2 years was maybe like a half hour trip to the grocery store once every 1 or 2 months. Chronic fatigue syndrome has been a major part of my life, but it's not also the only part of my life. So I have won an Emmy. I've been able to meet my husband and fall in love with my Bashert. We are about to celebrate in August 16 years of marriage. I've been able to write books, and I've been able to build a company called Jewish Joy to help support and uplift Jewish creatives. And I did this all with really disabling chronic illness on a homebound, work from home primarily schedule. I mentioned I had nieces, but I don't have children myself. That's because of chronic illness. And really, to say that I'm here today, I say this all the time, is a miracle. I'm very grateful to God and the universe. I don't know why I was given my miracle, but I am grateful for it all the same. And I try to live every day with understanding that with a miracle comes responsibility.
perhaps one of the reasons is that you are trying to help people find joy, which
Yeah.
is something that means a lot to me, which is what I did when I named this program. I got the idea for the program at 4 o'clock in the morning on the way to see my husband who was in the hospital. And I was listening to an interview, and the author, I could tell that, first of all, the interviewer had not read the author's book and didn't grasp it. And I could tell the author it was a repeat run of a interview. And I thought, this guy's not having any fun. The author wasn't having any fun.
Yeah.
And I said, he should be having fun. He has a new release. He should be, and I know his books, and I know. And so by the time I got to the hospital, I sat down after, because I brought my husband cinnamon rolls and hot coffee because he didn't like the graham crackers. He said he'd called me and said they want to give me graham crackers, and I said, I think I can do better.
Yes, you can. And cinnamons are amazing.
Yeah, so I was prepared. And
Awesome. The
then
other.
he ate his cinnamon bun, drank his hot coffee, went back to sleep, and I sat there and I came out with this idea, and it just flashed in my mind.
Yeah.
Joy on paper.
I love it.
For writers and those who dream of writing. And that's it.
I love it.
So joy, because I always called my husband my joy. He's my joy. And so I thought, what, I have to do this. And that's how I started the program 11 years ago on radio. And now I have this YouTube station so I can see people too. But
it's funny because what I pick up there is where I found my joy. My joy, or the basis of everything I do now, started at those moments where I was bedbound, where I thought the rest of my life was going to be boiled down to 4 square walls in a apartment in Northern Virginia, and the decision that I needed to hold on to my joy and find my happiness, even if I was not going to be anything more than my husband's disabled wife for the rest of my life. I needed to find a way to say, I'm okay, I'm worthwhile, even sick, I am valuable. And what I hear from you is a similar story. You're losing, or your husband is so sick, he's your joy, he's your life. And in this moment, how do you make meaning from it? You create this beautiful program focused on joy. So I absolutely think you and I are Bashert. I think we are two people who have learned to take our negative experiences and turn them into something better for other people.
Exactly. And talking about making it better for other people, let's talk about this. My goodness, my goodness. This is so exciting. You have something really big coming up, and it is going to be happening in March. So, do you want to tell us about Jewish JoyCon?
Yes, I am so excited to tell you about Jewish JoyCon, which is happening March 13th through 15th, 2026, at the Broward County Convention Center in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Jewish JoyCon is a groundbreaking 3-day event celebrating the best in Jewish pop culture, storytelling, and creativity. The question I always ask people, PatZi, is have you ever been to a con?
No.
Okay, so that's okay. Have you ever seen pictures of Comic Con where those people are like in costumes and they're going to the Comic Con event?
Yeah, I've seen the pictures. They look like fun.
They look like fun. So imagine those photos mushed together with the best of Jewish summer camp. Like I said, we've rented out the Broward County Convention Center, 3 floors. Essentially, what's going to happen is you're going to walk into this amazing space overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. You're going to see big screen TVs with schedules. You're also going to get an app on your phone, and you're going to be seeing things like come to this immersive workshop. Peter Himmelman is helping you find your creativity, or you're going to be getting a notice, come to this fireside chat with Mark Furstein. You're going to walk in, you're going to see a huge marketplace or shuk filled with Jewish businesses, brands, organizations, as well as really cool like custom things. Like perhaps for example, you might be able to go into a Bedouin tent and have a taste of Israel and learn about programs for your teen. On the other side, we have a main stage that can seat about 2,000 people. That's where our talent with the big T goes. So imagine panels with New York Times bestsellers. Imagine a panel on the secret Jewish history of Superman and Marvel. Imagine we have a Jewish psychic medium coming and doing a reading. Imagine cooking workshops with celebrity chefs infusing Judaism into learning how to make Passover carrot cake you'll want to eat year round. And then at the same time, because I'm absolutely bonkers, we're going to have 5 to 6 rooms going at the same time. Each of these rooms do something different. So we'll have film screenings and Q&As with the directors, matchmaking, workshops, meeting agents and literary agents and music agents, or taking a writing workshop. You want to write Jewish romance? We'll have a writing workshop on that. A game room where you can play mahjong or even learn about modern Jewish game designers and developers. We also have in this programming an entrepreneur track. So we have several Jewish women coming in who either sold their companies or went public with their companies before the age of 40. They will also be mentoring young Jewish ventures and brands and businesses. And this con, I want to be really clear, is not just for Jews. This is for anyone who loves the Jewish people. I like to say there are so many people out there who love our art, who love our culture, who feel connected to us. They are what I like to call Jewish adjacent. Maybe they're married to someone who's Jewish. Maybe they grew up in a Jewish community. Maybe the person who babysat them was a bubby and they've always felt connected to the community. Come and celebrate with us. This is about how Jewish creativity has changed the world for the better. It has touched every area of our society and made the world better. And we are just getting together. If you love bagels and Seinfeld, if you want to know about Jewish art and Jewish history, come to this event. It is one of a kind. And on top of that, it is going to be supporting Jewish creatives across every field. So come and celebrate, have a great time. We have group sales. We have also family plans and packs. And we are also doing, as well as a partnership with the Jewish Comic Experience, the people who curated it. So lots of activities for kids, Ninja Warrior activities. We are also doing a Shabbat dinner experience and a huge dance party called the Matzah Ball with special guests. They have not been announced yet. And as well as that, we will also be doing a Jewish Joy Idol. So if you are a comedian, a singer, a dancer, come and sign up for that. And you will be put in front of a panel of celebrity judges and agents, and maybe you'll get your big break. So come to Jewish Joy.
Whoa, this is nice. I love this. This is beautiful. How clever. See, this is what we get from somebody who wins an Emmy for production, because this is a major production.
It is a major production. I joke that somehow I became Jacob Greenberg from the Matzah Ball, who's like the party planner, and he's bigger. We got to make it bigger. But I felt to get the level of talent and what I envisioned of this as this like space that we really needed to make it big. So like I always say, without you, there is no us. Come out and support us. We have so many amazing comedians, musicians, celebrities, chefs, influencers. Some you guys will probably absolutely know their names. We're doing a slow rollout, but some of them are really on the up and coming. I feel like we've discovered a few people that in the next 2 or 3 years, the tickets to their shows are going to be very expensive. Come celebrate with us and have fun. It's been a kind of tough 2 years for Jews in terms of feeling isolated and lonely and not supported. And this is a great way to just remember all the good that Jewish culture, tradition, and identity brings, and how lucky we are to be part of this tribe.
This is such a clever and wonderful and beautiful and joyful idea.
Thank you so much. I hope you'll come, tell your friends, and it's in beautiful Fort Lauderdale, Florida, March 13th to 15th. You just have to go to thejewishjoycon.com and you can see our guests. You can see as we update the schedule, and you can get tickets as well. And you can also, again, learn more about exhibiting, presenting, sponsorships by going to thejewishjoycon.com.
I think it's a brilliant idea. Absolutely brilliant. I'm sure it's going to be lots of fun. And I hope people will go to that website, thejewishjoycon.com, and just get involved one way or another. Either go, participate. We have a lot of writers who watch my program. They should get involved too and celebrate. Yeah.
Let me speak directly to your writers too, because we will have agents there. We will be doing writing workshops with published authors. People are literally donating their time to help the next generation. That's very important to me. So it's also a wonderful opportunity for networking. This is your chance to get your book or whatnot into the hands of a filmmaker. This is your chance to get your book into the hands of a producer, right? Into the hands of a Jewish actor who might champion your story, into the hands of an agent. This is also your chance to meet people who are working in your genre and really telling the types of stories that you're doing to help you get to the next level. So there's a huge mentorship aspect here, a huge networking aspect. Meet friends, meet community, and be in a place where you can tell stories that are authentically you, and everybody at Jewish Joy is there to support you and to celebrate you. And again, it is not just for Jews. Anyone who loves our culture, loves us, wants to celebrate this beautiful thing, or just learn more about Jewish identity and how wonderful it is and how warm and welcoming is welcome. So if you've ever just laughed your tuchus off at a Seinfeld off episode, if your favorite food is lox and bagels, if you grew up with Jews, you are more than welcome to attend and enjoy with all of us.
Oh, wow. That's a good area for Jewish food, because there's a lot of good Jewish food in that area.
I like to joke, South Florida, the other Holy Land. We feel like we are 30 minutes from Miami, 30 minutes from Boca, right dead in the center of Fort Lauderdale. And we feel very good. That's a good location that's easy for everyone in that wonderful area, including food vendors, to get to, because we love to eat in the Jewish tradition.
Really, that area is one of the best places to get corned beef. I want corned beef.
I know.
Pastrami,
Me.
pickles.
Pickles are, it's funny. I just did an event in Tampa and they served dinner and it was real like Jewish food. Like it was like delicious. It was like I had to be polite and not just put the plate up to my face and go. But it was so good. It like reminded me of like childhood kiddish
Oh,
lunches. I could have, it was so good and you just can't get those like flavors. I don't know how you would describe that. A Hamish, like home flavoring of, oh, so good. And so, yeah, Florida is great for that. Sign me
well,
up. I love
exactly. Everybody. Yep.
it.
Go to the website, sign yourself up, and get involved and get over to Fort Lauderdale. A beautiful
That's
place
right.
to go. And in March, it's a perfect place. It's
Perfect.
like the
And we have,
perfect getaway.
yeah, and we have hotel blocks. Even it's spring break, so you can bring the whole fam. And we've been able to get the rooms down pretty low for that on the beach during spring break. It's 3 days, and it's right next to the cruise terminal, so you can just pop on a cruise ship when you're done, turn it into a whole week long vacation.
Okay, this is wonderful. I just want to again thank you for joining me. It is Beshert,
It's been
and the book as I said, it's a great read. Romance. We all need a little bit of romance at this time of the year. The
man.
Eight Heartbreaks of Hanukkah. And Jean Meltzer, you are an amazing author. You've really done a wonderful job. I have a few minutes, if you have a few minutes, because I
Yeah,
was
of
going to,
course.
it's been an hour, but I want to just ask a few separate questions.
Yeah.
People always will immediately, when I start talking about you, people will say, how did you get your first book published? The Matzo Ball. It
So
turned out to be an overnight bestseller, but how did you get it published?
so this is a really important part of the story, which was I was at a point in my life where I wasn't really actually interested in publishing. I hit a moment where I knew my skill level was at the level that it needed to be publishing professionally, but I wasn't going to risk my heart and soul. I was a little nervous to get back into the business of publishing rejections and things like that. So I wrote this book completely for myself and my niece. I just wanted to write this story. I filled it with everything I loved. And I thought, this is a really good book. And if people don't want it, it's because they don't want a Jewish chronically ill story. And I get that. I understand publishing is what it is, but it doesn't matter. I'm still going to write this book and I'm still going to keep it the way I want to keep it. And I'm going to tell the story I want to tell. That's really important. What happened was when I finished the book, I was like, let me just see. I'm just going to see. So I went on Publishers Marketplace. I searched for agents who maybe had sold like a Christmas romance. And I came across this woman, Carolyn Ford of Transatlantic Agency, who had just at auction sold a Christmas rom-com. And I was like, you know what? Because if you've been in the query trenches, you know this. I was like, let me just send her a query letter. I worked on the query letter. I did work hard. Patience was something I learned by 40. But let me just send her a query letter and see what happens. I'm never going to hear back from this woman, so it doesn't even matter. In fact, I hadn't even written the epilogue to my book at that point. So I sent her the query letter, and right away I hear back, send me the first 30 pages. So I was like, whatever, I'm never going to hear back from this woman. I'll send her, you know how it goes in publishing, 30 pages. I'll never hear back from this woman. Send her the first 30 pages, and 2 hours later, I hear back. She says, send me the whole book. And I'm like, oh, I didn't finish the epilogue. So I looked at my husband. I was like, hold my beer. I like finished the epilogue and I sent it off. And 2 days later, actually, they asked for a meeting. She brought in actually another Jewish agent. So they were two of them sort of offering to represent me as one agent. And I was like, yes, this sounds great. And 3 weeks later, with several offers on the table, the matzo ball sold. And from there, it just kept getting bigger and bigger. It was really buzzy for the space. It sold internationally in multiple territories. It was optioned for a film deal. But key points of this story is that I really wrote that book without thinking about publishing, right? I wasn't trying to take the story I wanted to write and fit it somewhere that I thought it would be marketable. And I think that what's important about that is what the matzo ball proved or showed was that was a book that only I could write. It was the experience of being chronically ill. It was the experience of being a writer in New York. It was the experience of she's a rabbinical student, a rabbi's daughter. I had been an ex-rabbinical student. That was a book that only I could write. And it was because I kept so authentically to what I wanted to tell. That book found its audience. I really feel that way. Yes, on a craft level, you have to get to a certain point, and it took me a while to get there. But I would say so many writers, like at some point, you can't control whether your book is bought or not. You can only do your best and tell your story. And God willing, luck and the stars align and timing will meet the talent.
Wow, that is a beautiful story.
It's wild, yeah.
So how did you discover that it was an overnight bestseller? What happened when that happened? Did you like
So,
go crazy?
yeah, I think it was like I think I understood the impact of the book, believe it or not, before my publishers did, because I knew as a Jewish person, I had said this interestingly to the EP at an event, the executive producer on the Matzo Ball film. I had said to him, I walk into Target, I would see this sea of red and green Christmas books, and I would always be like, where's the Hanukkah book? Why? I just wanted to see one blue and white cover in a sea of red and green. And when Matzo Ball published, I cannot tell you the amount of booksellers who said to me, I didn't even realize there wasn't a Hanukkah romance. And it shows like the difference in kind of perspective. Like I always walked in and noticed that book wasn't there, but to a lot of people who weren't Jewish, didn't realize we were missing. And I think what's so cool about that story is that 5 years later now, I walk into Target and the 8 Heartbreaks of Hanukkah is sitting on a shelf in that sea of red and green, manifesting that. But yeah, I think what's cool is that like I didn't write the book to thinking it would ever get published. And in a lot of ways, it wound up exceeding expectations of everyone. But maybe I always knew as the author that space, that hole was there to fill.
You have certainly filled it with wonderful books, as you said, in 4 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Amazing.
It is amazing. It is a miracle. And again, to your writers out there, my first draft of the first book I ever wrote took years. Now, granted, I was really sick during this period and I couldn't write, but even when I got better, it still took me about 2 to 4 years to finish this first draft book I ever really wrote, to get to the point where I was like, I've learned what I need to learn. This is where it is. And once I figured out how to write a book, how to do the beats in the story, the 3-act structure, the building to the subplot A and B come together, and then there's a resolution, I knew I could just continue doing that. Again, it doesn't mean you can write a perfect book and in traditional publishing, it not sell. And you can write a terrible book and it can sell and it can win awards. Publishing, to be very clear, is not fair. It is subjective. Nobody can tell you what is exactly great and what is not. So like you have to write the story because you love the story, because you want to write the story, because it's in you to tell this thing that you're going to write it no matter what. And you do that to your best of your ability so that if you do get rejected, you can say, okay, it wasn't me, it was the market. But knowing that it wasn't you sometimes is really important too. Again, publishing is not fair and it takes a lot of luck and timing. But I do believe that if you keep at it, keep writing books, keep writing stories, most everyone I started this journey with got their book deal in the end. And that was just simply by not giving up. I always say the only difference between a published author and a non-published author is that the published author didn't give up. Write your story, learn what you need to learn, know what you can control and can't control, and don't tie your value and worth into the book. Just write the book because you love it and it's a gift to yourself.
You certainly have done it. And I am very happy that we got to talk and about the book. And also I want to remind people one more time, sometime before March, you have to come back to the program to tell us your progress and what's happening. Okay?
I cannot wait because we will be able then at that stage to tell you all of our special guests, our talent, our schedule, and it's going to be amazing. Like I said, we slow roll out right now, but we will come back and we will fill you in on all the details. But do make sure you get your tickets because once they sell out, they are gone. So especially the packages and things like that.
Okay.
If you're in the area, grab your ticket today, for real.
Jewish Joy Con. And it is going to be lots of fun. And you'll be back here sometime in February so you can tell us more about the details, okay?
Absolutely. It is a promise.
Okay, great. Thank you again. And it's Jean Meltzer. You have a private email too, jeanmeltzer.com. Again, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been a joy to talk to you.
Thank you so much. I feel the same. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And I wish you all the joy in the world.
Thank you so much. Okay, everybody, get this book, The 8 Heartbreaks of Hanukkah. Thank you.